Hello, friends, and welcome to Rise Up in Real Estate, where we are on a quest. We are looking for the extra in the ordinary. And I'm Tad Fulford, and I will be your host on this journey where we will take an honest look at what makes ordinary people extraordinary. Exactly how can we be extra in our personal and our professional lives? In this season of the Rise Up in Real Estate adventure, there will be a monthly rhythm, meaning each month we will have 4 unique episodes. In one episode, we'll tackle a pressing current real estate industry thought. In another, we will chat with a local difference maker in the real estate space. For our 3rd episode, we will host a respected national thought leader. And finally, we will have a 4th bonus and surprise episode. And in each episode, we will be digging into not only what those people think, but who those people are. Along the way, it's my hope that you'll laugh some, you'll be challenged some, you will get inspired some, and if we are lucky, maybe even figure out a way or two you can rise up in your own life and be the best human that you can be. So the challenge is, let's all rise up. Hello, Rise Up Nation. We're here for another episode of Rise Up in Real Estate. And today's going to be a solo episode. Today's just going to be me talking with you, brainstorming, shooting straight about a couple of topics that I think you'll find interesting. We're going to discuss mental health and also getting customers, clients off the fence. I think those are 2 things right now in our world that we all need to be aware of. So let's dive right in. I think it's interesting to do, I was talking to a friend of mine, it's interesting to do this kind of podcast because I don't really get, it's hard when you don't get feedback. Like I'm not getting any notifications or any indications from you that this is going well. So in my mind, it's going perfectly, but in your mind, it might not be going well at all. And so it is always interesting to do this. Like I don't get head nods. I don't get thumbs up. I don't get any likes or dislikes like we do on social media, like when we do a live. So just going to dive right in. May, of course, as you know, is Mental Health Awareness Month. You might or might not know that. There's a couple things that come to my mind when I think of mental health. The first thing is that it's not talked about enough. It is still, even after all the things that we've witnessed in the media and all the things that we've witnessed personally in our own lives, it's still taboo for some reason. And I wanted to take it off the taboo list and be frank with you and just talk about it for a moment. And this month, just like other months are specialized on certain things, that this month is the awareness of mental health. And I think that the things that you should do are few. Like, I think you should look at your own mental health. Let's be honest with ourselves. How are you? How are you doing in your spirit? How do you feel on a regular basis when you're alone and it's quiet and all the distractions of the world, ones that you've put there and ones that are just there because of where we live and what we do? When all of that is hushed, how do you feel? Like, what is your level of self-esteem? What is your level of self-awareness? What is your level of, this is how I feel about me? You got to be honest with yourself. And then I hope the next thing you would do is be honest with someone else, someone close to you that can hold you accountable, that can care for you, that can maybe, sometimes we can't see the truth about ourselves. Like, you are a very valuable human being. I mean, in my opinion, we've talked about this before, you're not here by accident, you're here by design. And just for that reason, there are things that you're here to do on this planet, and you are valuable. So you might not know that about yourself, though. You might not be aware of it. You might, in quietness, might not feel it. So I think you need to find a friend or two that can be real with you and can help you. You know, the other thing I think you need to do is you need to also open your eyes to the people closest to you and in your sphere, and even just people that you run into maybe in the office or in the grocery store, or just friends that you know. How are they doing? What's their level of mental health? Would you dare ask someone that question? I think if you're going to, May is the month to do it. Ask how someone is, what they're feeling, how do they feel about themselves. suicide is not a word that we love to say out loud. I mean, we don't, but we've all known people that are affected by it. We've all known people in our lives that have perhaps have done that or have considered it, certainly. And, you know, the finality of it is something that's worth talking about before it happens. So I think this month is the month that you look the people that you love the most in the eye, and even the acquaintances that you have, and you ask them, how's your mental health? I mean, what's wrong with that question? But when you ask it, you have to be willing to listen. You have to be willing to say, take the time. If someone were to say, I'm really, really struggling, would you be willing to take the time to help them? So when you ask that question, you have to be prepared to follow it up. So, in my personal circle, I don't struggle with, um, suicidal thoughts or depression. I don't know why, but my genetic makeup is such that I'm a pretty positive person a majority of the time. I get down, I don't have a great self-esteem in some certain areas, but in general, I'm a pretty positive person, pretty, I'm always looking the bright side. But I have some people in my circle, my close circle, that do struggle with it. And even though I don't understand it, even though I know that, and they know the things that they feel aren't necessarily true. I've said this before, is what you feel is your reality. Like, if you feel it, it's real. I tell Mandy that on occasion, like she feels silly about a feeling that she might have. And I tell her, you don't have to apologize, because if it's how you feel, it's real and we need to deal with it. So 5 minutes on mental health, not enough, but I wanted to bring it to our attention and just say that, look, check yourself, check your closest friends. Don't be the person that does a social media post, sometime from now and says, I wish I would have asked these questions. I wish I would have made the phone call. I wish I would have loved more. I wish I would have dealt with my own issues. Like, there's nothing wrong with therapy. There's nothing wrong with psychiatry. I don't know why those things are so taboo. And why is it that when couples go to marriage counseling, they're looked at like, oh gosh, what's the problem? How about treating our mental health just like we do our physical health? Why is that a bad thing? Like, we go to the gym, or we go and get exercise, or we hop on the treadmill or the Peloton or whatever. And people commend us for working on our physical health, right? I mean, you're put on a pedestal, but if you tell somebody you're working on your marriage or you're working on your mental health, it's kind of looked at strangely. So don't let this month be a month that you wish you did. Go ahead and make the call. Go ahead and pick up the phone and set a lunch appointment, have some coffee, ask someone, how's your mental health, and see what the response is. Be willing to help if they reach out, though. Make sure that you're willing to go the extra mile for someone else. The other thing let's discuss today, this is a good one. Now, and you might think, how in the world can you talk about this topic, right? Because you're not in cars every day. You're not in houses every day. You're not talking, Tad, you're not talking to customers and clients. So how would you know the topic of getting a client off the fence? How would you know how to do that, right? You're not doing that on a daily basis. So maybe you think I'm talking out of my realm of expertise for a minute, but that's okay. I'd still encourage you to take a good measure of the things that I discussed today and weigh them with reality, your reality, and then let's have some dialogue. I'm always open. I'm having great dialogue with a video that I shot on the Rise Up in Real Estate Facebook page and Instagram right now about a couple of things. And I don't expect everybody to agree, or, I mean, that's not what it's about. This is about sharpening each other and challenging thoughts and getting better, helping more people, making more money, whatever you want to define it as. But how in the world could I speak on this topic? Well, I want to share with you that I got my real estate license in 2001, just real briefly. Worked for a developer, sold vacant land for builders to build homes on. I sold to the end user, to a neighborhood in our region called Plantation Lakes. Some of you know that. If you're in coastal South Carolina or in Myrtle Beach, you certainly know it. I worked there. That's how I learned real estate. A group of timeshare salespeople taught us how to sell real estate. Like, we were the group that chartered JetBlue jets and flew people. We did dinner parties in New York. I would travel around for 6 weeks in the summer and in the winter, and we would do dinner parties where we'd have wine and cheese, and we'd have people come to those things. And it was after running. I think this would still work today, by the way, as small aside. We'd run a small ad in the ad pack or the penny saver saying, hey, you want to come talk about Myrtle Beach real estate? Husband and wife come. We sit down, have wine and cheese, show video, stir up the emotions, invite them to come to Myrtle Beach to look at our land. They come on private jets. They stay in hotels. We give them activities to do. They look at the land, and you were all part of it, probably, those of you that were in real estate back then, where it was literally like a feeding frenzy, where 5 or 6 people would drive up to the same home site, and the pressure would make people make the best decision they've ever made in their lives. So that's how I cut my teeth in real estate. So I learned how to handle buyers. I learned how to overcome objections. I learned how to answer and ask lots and lots of questions. I think that's probably my strength still in my life. One of them is I'm a good information gatherer. Like Mandy drives Mandy crazy. I ask so many questions and want to do an interview for an agent joining our firm. Gosh, like today I've got 2. They're going to get a lot of questions. But I did that for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. 2007, 2008, you know, what our market did here in Myrtle Beach and really nationwide, it started to change. And I actually did a stint in timeshare. I left real estate, went to timeshare for 6 months because I thought, it was a good way to make quick money, but I couldn't deal with the ethics of where I was working specifically in timeshare. I'm not saying that it's all broken, but the version I was working on was broken. I was working on in-house, which is it wasn't frontline, which is talking to people that don't own timeshare. I think timeshare is a good product, but when you're talking to people that have a bunch and you're encouraged to sell them more, you learn some things about sales, but I just couldn't deal with the ethics of the environment of where I was, for me. So I lasted about 6 months, and then I joined a friend of mine at a brand in Myrtle Beach and sold general real estate. I thought general real estate was the way to go at that point because I was selling land. The customer base basically dried up for the on-site sales I was doing. And then I went to timeshare, then I went to general real estate. So I wouldn't have any limitations, I thought, as to what kind of product I could sell. And that was in 7 and 8. And it was bad. I mean, we all repurposed ourselves. Like we learned how to do short sales and foreclosures. And I was working at Boomtown site back then, and I had a team, and my team and I would work those leads, and we sold, 80, 90, 100 properties a year. So it was the kind of thing where I was very productive. I actually enjoyed buyers more than sellers. You would imagine that because that's what I would cut my teeth on. That's what I was good at. I was a golf professional, high customer service, customer touch job for 10 years before I got into real estate. So just to give you a brief overview of what I did, like I stood in a pro shop back in my early 20s as a director of golf and interacted with people that were joined a private country club where I was the director of golf that had a lot of money. And they just, they demanded the top level service, and that's what we did. So these are some of the reasons why when I go places, I'm just super aware of great service, lack of service, attitude, willingness to serve, all those things I'm just aware of. I don't know. It's just my gift, I guess, and my upbringing. That's a whole nother podcast. Is it genetic or did I learn it? I think it's both, but we'll do that at another day. So I did sell a lot of real estate, and then I brought my team to the brand where we are now because I realized that the compensation package back then where I was moving to was better. I didn't need a whole lot of things, and I wanted to make as much commission as I could at that moment. So we moved our team over. And then you probably know the rest of the story. I met my wife. I asked her if I could be a broker. She said, no, you can't. I don't know you. Then one thing led to the next. And once she had about 50 agents at her brand, at her franchise, she needed some help. So we started dating. We worked together. And I guess the rest is history. And I sold real estate until we had about 70 agents in our company, and then just couldn't do it all. So decided I wanted to teach and train and grow. And so that's what I've been doing for the last several years in the brokerage. But I have some experience. And now my job day to day, like what I really feel like my job is day to day, is to devour content in such a way that I can speak on topics like what I'm speaking about in the next few minutes. Um, I don't want you to think because I'm not in cars, I don't understand what it means to sell real estate. And I don't think you should think that because I'm not in houses at tables that I'm not um, in tune with what's going in the marketplace. Because the other thing I do, other than devour content, is I constantly meet with full-time professionals. Constantly. I'm having coffee. I'm having coffee with 3 different people today, with people that are in cars and at tables, in kitchens. And they're doing the thing, and they're doing it at a high level. They're doing it as a career. They're doing it full time. They are telling me the ups and downs, the highs and lows. I mean, just as an interest, we have about 210 agents, 6 offices in 2 states. Um, Really could expand more if we wanted to, kind of putting a cap on it with the kind of agent that we want to associate with, and the locations that we want to be a part of. But all of those people that are with our firm are full time, and they are all in it to win it. This is their career. Like, it's not supplement to their income. So when I sit with these folks, like I talked with someone yesterday that, um, gosh, I'm trying to think what his volume is already. And here we are, the first week of May. He's probably at 12, 15 million already. Talked to him yesterday about the market. I played in a golf tournament a couple of weeks ago, and we're with 2 guys that are doing a ton of volume, and I talked to them about the market. So I want you to know that I'm not just sitting in an ivory tower, because there are no ivory towers at our organization, but I'm not just doing podcasts and videos and not in touch. So the topic is, what in the world can you do to get a client off the fence? So right now in our market, I'm hearing a little bit of a stagnation, although I would say the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because of the seasonal change in our market, things have gotten a little bit more perky. But we're seeing, for the last 2 quarters, we've seen a little bit of a stall, a little bit of like, compared to what we saw 22 and 21, we've seen a little bit of stall. It is changed in that the inventory is way different, lower, prices are higher. Buyers have super expectations that think that the buyer, what's a buyer thinking? A buyer's thinking, well, their price is too high, like a good buyer would think. Seller is thinking, price can't be high enough, as a good seller would think. So you've always got that disconnect. Right now we are dealing with the rate question, right? What are interest rates going to do next? We know what they've done. I talked with somebody yesterday that bought their first property at 16% in 1983, and we are choking on 6%. But it is different. It's higher. It's double than I can remember. Double in the last few years, so it's significant, and it does price some people out. We have an inventory issue. Inventory's low. Sellers are sitting there waiting, like waiting for the good time to do it. We are seeing a little bit more, as a note, this May of 2023, we're seeing a little bit of uptick in inventory, but prices are high too. Like, they're just putting it where they think it should have been. And you have these other factors in line with that are changing. They're changing what buyers and sellers our expectations are. So what we have, like a stalemate, like a standoff. Buyers are crossing their arms and saying prices are too high. They need to be lower. I need more choices, because last year I had so many choices, even though I couldn't get any, because everybody else was getting them before me. I need more choices. And the sellers are saying, I need to price it higher, because there's not that many choices. I'm happy that there's not that many choices, but some sellers are sitting still and not doing anything because they're afraid. I mean, I think I've heard sellers talk about, and agents talk about the fact that, there's a fear of, like me, I'm in a house, my interest rate's 3% or under 3% on our loan. And if I were to rebuy what I bought now, if I rebought it today, the rate would be 6 or more. So that's different. Like, I mean, you got to ask yourself, what in the world, how much do I really want to move? Is it worth it? Because it's going to cost me more. Mm, Sorry, I had to take a sip of water. So we're sitting here in the midst of a stalemate, like a standoff, and we call it sitting on the fence. And I don't know if you've ever sat on a fence. My friend Scott Comey, and I should note here, Scott and Renee Comey do a great podcast. I think he said something like it was listened to in 39 countries, which I couldn't even tell you 39 countries, but I think he mentioned 31, 39 countries. Great podcast called Turn the Dial. You need to listen to it if you haven't. Go on the Spotify or Apple like you've done with mine and follow it so that every time a new episode comes up, you're notified. That's the way to do it, because then your phone will show you, hey, there's a new one, and you can listen to it. But great and they're tacticians too. They're like in the trenches doing the thing. So running a great organization, just great people. But they were doing their podcast and they were telling me 39 countries, turn the dial. So focus on that. But I heard him say when he was talking about this, like, have you ever sat on a fence? I mean, just the thought of it. Like, I can see two different kinds of fences. Where I am right now, I'm at the beach doing this podcast. Joy of technology. Thank God for COVID in some regard, because it taught us how to do this. I'm on the fly. I'm on the way to an appointment. And I had to get this done. So I pulled over looking at the beach. The meters don't start till 9 and I'm good. But fences are not comfortable to sit on. And that's the image that you need to have in your mind when you've got these people that are just waiting. They're uncomfortable. They don't like it. You need to imagine that. Like, think of it. They don't love the idea of, you might think they do because you're the seller, like you're trying to make money on this transaction, not the seller, but you're putting the deal together. You're trying to get paid. And sometimes you think they're doing it on purpose, or they don't care that they're delaying because then they don't have to pay you any money. But I think you need to realize that sitting on a fence is uncomfortable. Get that in your head first. Like, it's just a crampy place to be, especially if it's a picket fence. But any kind of fence, it just wears on you, right? It just sticks in you and makes you super uncomfortable. And it's not the kind of thing you want to do long term. So they're uncomfortable. They're whether they're a buyer or seller and they're sitting on the fence, they're uncomfortable. And you need to keep that in your mind. They don't like being there. So our idea of helping them get off the fence is not only for us. It's not only for us to make money. It's not only for us to do a transaction or increase our stats or whatever. It's really, in the end of the day, it's for them, right? And this is probably the main point that I want you to come away with. Like, first of all, the fence is uncomfortable. Second, you need to be empathetic. And I think the way to get someone off a fence, and we'll talk about some practical things you can do, but the way that you need to do is you need to have a mentality. Like, your mentality has to be connecting with that person, like we've talked about over and over and over on this podcast, connecting with that person and finding out what their motivation is for buying or selling. If you live or own property along the coast of South Carolina, you probably need insurance. We Insure Advocates is a locally owned independent agency with industry-leading service support. Our team of customer-centric agents can explain your coverage options and help you craft an insurance program that fits your needs and budget. Data-driven for better value, people-led for better service. That's the difference of we. For all of your property insurance needs, please find us at weinsureadvocates.com or call us at 843-491-6990. You have to dig to that. And they're not going to tell you it. My experience has been, they've got to guard up, especially right now. They're not going to tell you right away what it is. But as we talked about, as you drip content on them, drip love on them, drip care on them over time, they eventually will start to open up and tell you the real reason for their motivation. Now, I think you should ask them. You should come right out and say, why are you buying? Why are you selling? Tell me your story. But then you need to tell them to tell you again. And you need to keep on digging, and you need to keep on asking different ways to find out what their real motivation is. Sometimes it's, hey, I want to be closer to grandparent kids. Sometimes it's I want to be further away from grandkids. Sometimes I'm coming to the beach. Sometimes I'm trying to get away from the beach. Sometimes I like traffic because I like people and activities. And sometimes I don't like traffic or activity. But you have to get super crafty at figuring out what their motivation is. And you need to ask it in like 10 different ways. Figure out ways to ask it, send them things, talk to them, and not only in appointments either. Like sometimes when you're sitting in a real estate office in front of a big screen TV and you got some properties up on the wall, when you ask someone their motivation, they're not going to tell you. That's not the right time. It might be cocktails. It might be walking on the beach. It might be going to a movie. It might be, hey, you sent them a baseball cap of their favorite team and they are now appreciative and they call you to say thank you. And you're like, well, tell me your story again. Like, what is it that makes it so you want to do this or that? So that's the main thing. That's how you get people off the fence, is you find their motivation. And what we have to do with that motivation once we've crystallized it. And you, like I said, you've got to ask over and over and over, and you got to dig. Once you've crystallized their motivation, then it's a simple thing. Then it's weighing it, comparing that motivation. How much do you want that compared to how much do you hate the thing that's making you stall, the thing that's making you have a stalemate in business or to get to where you want to be? So you ask them what their motivation is. Let's say the example is they want to get closer to their grandkids. That's their motivation. They want a house. In our case, they want a house at the beach so that they can be closer to grandkids. Okay. So then you have to figure out how you can ask them in crafty ways again. How much do you want that? And then you have to ask them, is it more than this higher interest rate? And you break that down all the way to dollars and cents. Is it more than prices are high? I'm talking about for a buyer. Like, how long will it take for the prices to get where you, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, how long will it take for the prices to get where you want them to be or you think they should be? How long will it from now? How long will that be in your estimation? And are you willing to wait? Let's say Johnny is 5 and you're trying to get to that grandkid. If you say it's going to be a year, maybe, which we don't know, by the way, like this is a prediction, they're guessing, but let's say it is a year. Let's say they're right. It could be more, it could be less. Let's say they're right. So are you willing to wait a year or two? Are you willing to wait till he's 6 or 7? What happens in a 5-year-old's life between 5, 6, and 7? And are you willing to just not be around that? How high is that motivation? Like, how strong is that pull? This is why investors, it's like weird right now for investors, because there's not really an emotional, this is my opinion, of course. There's not really an emotional connection for an investor. And that's why some people love dealing with investors. But if there's, for an investor right now, they're like, well, my motivation is I want a property that will turn, it will make money, it's profitable. Maybe I can make money when I sell it, but mainly that I'm getting money right away. That might not happen now, so they can wait, and they're okay waiting. But for somebody, grandma, grandpa, there's so many motivations that if you can boil it down to figuring it out and getting really good at it, that's why some people sell so much real estate all the time. Like right now, they're still killing it because they're in tune with what someone really wants. And they have a way of saying, how much do you really want it? Compare it to what you are not doing it for. Like, how long is this lack of inventory or high prices or interest rate changes? How much does that affect it? Right? I mean, how much, what are you putting the most weight on? And how long are you willing to wait? Same with the seller. Sellers are sitting there going, I'm not going to go anywhere because I can't find anything that it's going to cost me more. And well, what's your motivation for selling? Like, why would you sell? Well, I'd rather be on the water, or I want to be here anymore. I'm going to be in a different neighborhood, or I want to downsize. And why do you want to downsize? Well, I want to downsize because I have more money to travel. Okay. Now we're on to something, right? Now you want more money to travel. You can tell I'm talking fast because I'm trying to get this to 30 minutes because I don't want to bore you, but I'm passionate about this. You want more money to travel? Great. To get more money to travel, Where do you want to travel to? Let's talk about it. Like what trips do you have in mind, and how long are you willing to wait on that? How long do we have? I mean, there's been some things in the news lately that are devastating, and we don't know how long we have. So why are we on the fence? Why are we waiting? What are we waiting on? That's just it right there. That's the whole thing. Like, people are waiting, but why? And it's okay to wait, but just understand, by waiting, you are postponing getting to your motive, like what you're motivated by. You're just postponing that. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not. Physical fitness is, I know we talk about this all the time. That's a good one for me. Like, this whole week, I've been saying I need to get back passionate about getting in the gym. All right. So it's Wednesday, haven't done it yet. I've wasted 2 days. I mean, I've exercised, but I haven't done what I thought I was going to do. My motive is to get in better shape, but I've just put it off by 2 or 3 days. Can I afford it? Like, can I afford to do that? What am I waiting on, I guess, is the bottom line. And that's what you need to ask these people sitting on the fence. And you need to ask them, not like I'm asking you guys in this podcast, but you need to ask them in a way that they know you care. And you need to frame it in a way that they know you understand their motive. But you got to get to the motive. And I bet when you get to the motive, you can leverage it against anything that they're dealing with. Now, practically speaking, there's some things you need to do in order to help these people off the fence. Like, you need to be talking to your lenders about special programs. Rates are different, but there are a lot of special programs, and you need to be digging into those special programs. So get off the phone, call your favorite lender, and find out what the programs are. You need to be informed about insurance, because insurance has changed, especially here in our market. If you're not informed about that, it's going to devastate some of your deals at the end, but you need to understand that. You need to know your stats like nobody's business. I didn't used to be a huge stats guy, but right now you need to know what sold, what didn't sell, what is on the market, what is coming down the pipeline. You need to be looking for off-market inventory. When you knock these sellers off the fence, you need, and I say knock in a gentle way, you need to have that ready to go. You need to be digging into programs like at our brokerage. You need to be digging into programs like KV Core and all the tools that it has for you to leverage so that you are an expert. These people need an expert, and you need to not tell them, this is my opinion. You need to show them the facts, show them the numbers. When they say, I'm waiting for prices to fall, you need to show them the price history for the last 15 years in your market and help them understand that it's probably not going to. They're getting all their information. Excuse me, I need another sip of water because this is fun. They're getting their information from the media. They're getting it from the news desk. Lester Holt, take care of yourselves and each other guy. I didn't know he'd stolen that from maybe Jerry Springer, I think. Just a little tidbit. They're getting it from people that aren't in the field every day. Because guess what? That news reporter is not a realtor, and they're not a practitioner. And they're not creating the story in most regard. It's a reporter that's giving them the information. And the reporter, by the way, is a reporter. So you need to know your stuff. So there's some things that you can do practically. And I want to close on this note. And this is a challenging one. There's two things I want to end with. Number one, how is your attitude about the market? This is another fence sitting thing. Are you on the fence? Are you not convinced that it's a good time to buy or sell? Can you not get yourself convinced? Like, do you think it's okay? And I think you need to be honest about this. Like, is this a time that people should not buy or sell? Should people be have pause? Should people be more cautious? Is it okay that people are waiting? You need to ask yourself, how are you doing in that area? Like, how is your attitude affecting your client? I guess is what I'm getting at. Your doubt could be affecting the success of your client, which is a huge no-no. Like, you got to get your head on straight. And I think what I just talked about for the last 20 minutes, if you can figure out there, I don't know how to say this other than to say it. If someone's motivation is strong enough to buy or sell, it doesn't matter what's going on in the market. Did you hear that? If someone's motivation is strong enough to buy or sell, it doesn't matter what's going on in the market. let's just say, let me give you an example. Here's something like this is a weird that popped in my head. Somebody has a bad accident and they're handicapped now. They're confined to a wheelchair, or somebody they get old and they get confined to a wheelchair. They need a handicapped accessible house. Are they going to wait on the market to get right for them to, and what is getting right anyway? What's the market getting right? I don't know. Are they going to wait on the market to buy or sell? Nope. Because their motivation is so strong. So what you have to understand, this is the second thing, like check your attitude. Like, how are you? How's your mindset? Remember, it's not you. Don't let your motivation drive this thing. Be the motivation of your customer client. Find out what their motivation is and just be able to say, this is the last thing I want to leave you with is every single day. I heard somebody say this the other day. I love it. Every single day, at least as long as I can remember and as long as I can even research, something is bought or sold. In your market, in my market, right down the street I'm looking at right now, every single day, something is bought and sold. The question is, are you going to allow yourself to be a part of that? And are you going to allow your client, are you going to help your client be a part of that? Because it's going to happen. The market's not going, listen, 2007, 2008, it never stopped. We had to repurpose ourselves and we had to start doing short sales and foreclosures, and the number of transactions dramatically decreased because of consumer doubt. And we got some of that going on right now. But dig in to your consumer's motivation. If their motivation is strong enough, and there's some sales to it, like if you can help them make their motivation pretty strong, right? We did that with JetBlue and the radios and the driving around crazy. And some people will say it's all smoke and mirrors, but there is a science and an art to helping someone be ready to buy or sell. And it starts with finding their motivation. When you find their motivation and you figure out how strong it is, the market doesn't matter anymore. Rise Up Nation, this has been good stuff. I know it's good stuff because I said it. Like, I feel like it's good because I said it, and I hope that you agree that it's good stuff. I hope that it helps you rise up more in your business. I'd love to have some dialogue with you about it. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find Rise Up in Real Estate on those channels too. It's an unbranded thing with some videos that I think you'd enjoy. But I appreciate your time. And remember, customer motivation is the secret to getting people off the fence.
Well, hey, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for listening to Rise Up in Real Estate. If you liked hanging out with us today, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Rise Up in Real Estate. Also, follow us right now on your favorite podcast host to hear more episodes. We really appreciate you spending some of your time with us. And until next time, let's do each other a favor and all help each other rise up.